What is going on, you guys? Anybody miss us? I know we've been doing some of our live streams in our Discord recently, but we are always going to be here on Wednesdays for our Closing Bell show. So don't you worry, we're still here, we're still around. Those of you that are in Stacks and in our Discord probably seen us a little bit more. But really hope that you guys are enjoying your week so far, your shortened week. I know we didn't have Labor Day, markets were closed, but good to have you all here. What up, Max? Here, let me make sure you're, there we go. Now your audio's on.
There we go.
We already got 6 people watching. We've got not too many earnings. We've only really got CRM, which is Salesforce, C3 AI, I would say American Eagle. We could take a look at GitLab too. And technically Figma is also reporting as well. It'll be their first earnings since their IPO. I did write a little bit up in our Discord today just about the 3 that I've got listed so far. So we got CRM, Salesforce, we've got AI, C3 AI, and we got American Eagle. Let me pull that up real quick. All right. So Salesforce EPS is up from last year, $2.78, up from $2.56. Revenue is up 8% year over year. 9 of the last 10 quarters they've beat earnings, and they've raised forward guidance after a strong quarter one. So analyst targets as high as 325 on cloud data, data cloud, and AI growth. Bearish risk growth is slowing into single digits. Rising AI narrative, competition, Databricks, ServiceNow, other companies, and then Agentforce adoption is still weak. So far with the flow, I would say it's kind of a mixed bag. If you were to filter just for the buys, you do have some puts that came in, and this is just for Friday, so this is kind of an urgent one. 400K being spent on that 245 strike, just about $10 down from where we're at right now. And then you have these 919, 270 calls aiming for a little bit above, but that was from yesterday. Okay, the rest of the stuff that we see some puts as well being bought for 250 and 255. So if anything, I'd say big money in Stacks is leaning a little more bearish on Salesforce right now. What do you think, Max, on your side?
Well, considering they've never turned a profit in the entire time they've been a public company, I'm not shocked. Also, anyone who works in tech will tell you that they hate Salesforce. But it's like the thing is yeah, the AI agent adoption was like a huge question for them last earnings because they keep rolling these things out, but like the demand just isn't there. Also, I will put it, they are insanely priced, like to even purchase a license for them. So it's just one of those that don't tend to outperform necessarily, and when they do, it's usually some lofty AI narrative that they've been just like dumping themselves into for the past what seems like 5 years now. But again, you have companies like ServiceNow and others that are starting to corner the AI market for service agents at least. So that's going to eat away at that market share because it's just going to make more sense for like more of the mid-market, more so because Salesforce really relies on their enterprise partnerships at the end of the day. So I don't expect I don't expect a huge beat from them. If they do beat, it's most likely going to be minor, and it is a company where you're not really going to see a move until the conference call for the most part, because they're very much about forward-looking guidance for them.
All right. Chart wise, we've got this kind of downward sloping trend, but it's held up pretty strong at about 230, 231. We did bounce off of it. You see, bounced off 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times already. So that's held up pretty strong over the course of this last year, or 2 years technically. But again, do we see a rejection off this upper part of the trend line? If I'm bearish, maybe we see a little pop after earnings, and then we maybe see a sell-off and then retest that bottom end of that line. But it's really got that head and shoulders kind of look to it. So I would not really be surprised to see if we see a bit of a sell-off afterwards, especially because too, during what we see in stacks here, I mean, we did have some more calls being purchased today for Friday, the 270, so they're aiming for the upside. But that's just a 5% move, so I'm not too sure about this. I do see a lot more puts, and if you add up all of that right there, that is about $1 million spent right here across 3 different strikes for the puts, all for Friday. So another bad sign for Salesforce is the chair and CEO. I mean, there are a couple in here that were very small amounts, 7K, 50 something K, 22K, but he's sold off quite a few, chunks of shares at that 255 range or so. And you can see, quite a bit in terms of the sale, the CEO and the chair selling here. So, this is all just coming in. This was all at the end of last month that was reported. Obviously, they traded a few days ahead of that. But look at all that being sold off. So, do they know something? Are they trying to get out of their position just because, again, maybe this keeps going. They've been selling all across last month. So, but yeah, little bits here and there. So it's, total wise, quite a bit overall, but $7,000 here, right? 7,000 right there, 22 or 20,000. For the CEO, that's chump change. So, but yeah, that's all selling right there. Politician tracker, we do have a little bit of buying here and there. We did see David Taylor just purchased earlier last month, but he just reported it yesterday. So I'd probably say leaning a little bit more bearish on this name, especially with that chart pattern that's shown up too. Next that I've got on our list is C3 AI. Estimates it's still a negative EPS, negative 12 cents versus 9 cents year over year. Revenue is $91 million, which is up 17%. Catalyst for the bulls, growing enterprise adoption in defense, energy, and financial services, positioned as a pure AI play during the enterprise adoption cycle. Gross margins expected to hold. But the bearish risks, and I'm going to point this one out, we've kind of noticed this trend is they're still unprofitable. And so what we've noticed with a lot of stocks during this, this earnings cycle is that just because you're a good AI company or you have AI in your system doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to keep pushing those prices up. So companies that are losing money with that negative EPS, at the end of the day, if they miss or if they just hold steady with it, a lot of these names have been selling off after their earnings. Shares are down 26% this past month, so the investor sentiment is fragile. AI hype is fading. Revenue guidance needs to surpass to reignite the momentum. And so, while there is a little bit of a gap from above on this name, it's kind of in this, I would say it's kind of in no man's land right now. It's testing out a little bit of the lows that it did most recently hit. There is this entire chunk down below back in end of 2022. Keep in mind I'm showing you guys the daily chart here. But this is one of those, market cycles where you had that euphoria and then the dead cat bounce, and now it's down toward the depths of where it's at. Even though earnings have been positive for it overall, we did have some buy-ups down back over here, but at the end of the day, it's fairly down low. It probably is one of those cheaper names to play an earnings gamble on if you were to look at it. I would say right now, if you take a look at what Stacks has to say, there are some puts being bought for the end of this week, $16.50 strike. So, I mean, only about a little bit over 100K right there. One of them's already up a little bit because it's moved like 20 cents. So, could it be down below 16.5 after this earnings call? I think that's a fair bet at this point. Buys of calls. Here, let's pull up Stacks itself for you guys so we can see. Those of you guys that are here, go ahead, liven up that chat. Let me know you're here watching. I know you guys only see us on Wednesdays right now because we've been doing the most of them in our Discord. But always good to have you guys here. That way we can get you guys going for a couple of these plays for the week. So, a little bit of a mixed bag, I would say. Aiming for above 16.5, aiming below 16.5. But I would say the puts are going to be the more urgent one, the more aggressive ones right here in terms of time frame. These are going to go straight to zero if it does not go down past 16.5. Let's pull up my trading view. Like I said, there's a big gap up here. We did see a drop back here at the beginning of last month, so the 11th. Should double check what the news was for that. I think that might have been Nvidia earnings might have caused that drop. So kind of holding up at that 1638, 1630 range. But it's really crept down below. Is this going to be that H type of pattern where it comes back down? I would probably say we could come back and retest this, if anything. It's a very good possibility. Daniel just told us we saw some Home Depot. Yeah, we just saw some Home Depot calls come in. Some big money being spent. 4.5 mil, 2 mil right there. End of the week. Ooh. What's going on with Home Depot?
A lot of them are super in the money too.
Well, they do have their ex-dividend date coming up. That's always something to consider too. They do have their dividend payout date. So they got to hold it out through tomorrow. Interesting. Home Depot customers regaining confidence, market talk, maybe. Interesting to consider. Or the one that's kind of on my radar right now, I don't know if I'm necessarily going to play it, but it's just something that's kind of come to my attention, is American Eagle. They've been in the news quite a bit this last month just due to their marketing campaign with Sydney Sweeney. But EPS flat year over year, revenue is down 2%. So they had their celebrity collabs boosting brand visibility. Sydney Sweeney with their Great Jeans campaign, and then apparently Travis Kelce got involved with something too. Another thing was it was also brought to the attention because President Trump tweeted about it and said something about how she's a Republican, and again, it's one of those things where it's just it brought attention. We know that it brought more attention. Question is, did it convert into anything tangible? Did it up their sales? Did they bring in more revenue because of it? Are we seeing more people shop at the store, and people that normally would have gone and bought some jeans over at Ross and Marshalls or Macy's ended up at American Eagle because of this? Did that actually make an impact? That's the big question here. Viral campaigns temporarily drove double-digit stock pops, so we already saw American Eagle pop. I believe it's 17% since the campaign happened. All right. Strong denim sales and digital channel growth helping stabilize comps. Okay, but the bearish risks: Bank of America downgrade to underperform, slash their EPS estimates for next year, and down 8% and 30% for 2025 and 2026. Publicity stunts may not translate to sustainable sales, like I said, and the retail headwinds, tariffs, weak pricing power, and mall traffic declines. I found it interesting. Apparently, they still make $1 billion on sales a year, which I mean, I don't know who exactly is buying American Eagle. 2.38 billion market capitalization since the whole, so you can imagine this is that first little pop that we saw with the whole Sydney Sweeney thing. Oh, technically 30 something percent from that low over here. So again, did that run up already happen? We do have a little bit of a head and shoulders looking pattern with a very small right shoulder right here, you can imagine. So if that's going to be something that plays out, you could see this run up a little bit. The one thing that I do like about this is the fact that it is a cheaper name. There's an implied 10% move for earnings, and the thing that I've noticed is if you look at all the unusual stuff, I mean, keep in mind these ones from back here, that's already popped from there. It's already went up from that $12 up to, it's been up about $1 or more since that. But we still do see some calls being purchased for February. $19 strike, only $57,000 spent on that one, but they spent 95 cents per share, so $95 per contract right there. I would say if you're looking for an earnings play, this one is kind of attractive to me. It's definitely a gamble. 25 cents, so 25 bucks per contract here. So you just buy 4 of them, spend 100 bucks on that. That's up to you. But $200,000 they spent on that. All right. And yes, stock price is up. This is probably up a little bit more. You might have to get in around like 30 cents or so. But that's aiming for the monthly expiration 9/19 of this month. So $17 calls for 9/19. Take a peek over it and let me know if you guys decide to get in that. I'm rooting for you. I mean, I will say I saw some Twitter things talking about how Sydney Sweeney is going to be topless on the earnings call, so that's bullish. But obviously, a lot of jokes around going around with that kind of thing. You got anything to say about either of those, AI and American Eagle, Max?
AI, they've even though they're losing money, they top estimates every earnings for the most part. So that's like a good sign for them. But again, I think the infrastructure sector stocks on average are up 3.2% year to date, and they're down 27%. So that's kind of like a kick in the balls right there. So I would be pretty bearish on that name unless they have some kind of, but with how Nvidia performed, I expect them to flop. American Eagle, that's a tough one because you have two very divided crowds on how that ad was received. Some people, it made them support the brand even more, and it turned some people completely off. So yeah, we're gonna have to see the fallout. It's also a consumer run stock essentially, which if you have been paying attention to inflation and all that stuff, people aren't spending money on crap like that right now. So that's most likely why most analysts have come out and downgraded them. It's mainly because the consumer isn't shopping the way they used to. And they're not going to be shopping in a way that will show aggressive growth numbers from this campaign ad, because go look at how much an average pair of American Eagle jeans are and tell me if you'd be willing to pay that. And that's what it's really going to boil down to. You can get Travis Kelce, you can get Taylor Swift, you can get whoever you want to endorse this product. But at the end of the day, do people want to spend their money? No. So I think it's a tough sell. I do see upside coming as a flash in the pan, so it could run up, but I think those projections are where it will potentially kill it. So I don't know. I'm feeling a little bearish on it just because I haven't been loving consumer names lately, and Lululemon just lives rent free in my head as an example of that.
Yeah, I mean, technically Lululemon does report on Thursday as well. We'll see if it continues that bearish trend. I'll pull it up after we close, and then we'll talk about that. Romeo, we did already talk about CRM. If you go look at stacks a little bit, or if you go rewind on this live stream a little, we did talk about it at the beginning. CRM we're a little bit more bearish on at this point. But hold on, somebody just mentioned something real quick before I go into it. We did see today American Eagle has a very big, bullish premium in terms of our Wave X scanner. Wave X we just released this Monday. Obviously Monday we had Labor Day, so nobody was, no markets were closed. But as of today, we are seeing more bullish than bearish when it comes to American Eagle. Somebody just mentioned something real quick. Let me double check here. Yeah, somebody just mentioned CRM. Okay. What else I was gonna do? Somebody mentioned CFLT. Oh, that's just some calls being sold. Okay. I wanted to point this out as well. Our flow scanner has been going off with gold. Gold has been popping. If I just go and showed you guys what happened today. Sorry, my dog's going nuts. $189 million in gold calls came in today. And if you filter for that for today and take a look, it's all big money. Big money spending a lot of premium. Here we got 52 mil, 65 mil, 63 mil, right? We do have a few calls sold here and there, but again, it's millions and millions of dollars being spent on gold. And you can also see if you go pull up the chart as well, gold is breaking into new all-time highs at this point, all right? And again, it's that inflation hedge. It's to make sure that you guys understand we're at a point with our deficit that we gotta print more money. The bond market's going crazy as well. There's a lot of little things that are showing that there are breaks in the system. And when that does happen, people tend to gravitate toward things that are gonna be of safer risks. So ultimately gold, this is expected. I do expect that if the narrative continues, that we will continue to see this go higher. It is moved up, again, from, even go from here, this is a small amount, 7% for something like this, right? Technically, it's kind of a slow mover, but you can also take a look as to from, if I just go back toward, right, if you look back at COVID as well, from down here, it was 136 back there. It's at 300 something now. So from COVID lows, we're now up 138%. If you just go from, tariff lows from April, we're up 19%. So gold, GLD, definitely on everybody's radar right now when it comes down to what Stacks is showing.
Also, if you look at SPY, look at SPY, WaveX for SPY, and there's like a huge spike that hit like an hour ago in puts.
Yeah.
So usually when you see gold calls getting bought, you're gonna see SPY puts being bought just as equally, because that is the ultimate protection edge, or HYG or any of those types of things. That's when you see calls getting bought on that, it's time to buy yourself some protection.
Exactly. All right. We got 5 minutes till close. What else did I want to show? Oh, by the way, for those of you that are not in our Discord, yesterday, 7:06 a.m. West Coast, so 30 minutes after the open, we saw these Google Stacks AI calls from May of next year, 250 strike for Google. What happened yesterday? Google and their Google Chrome was ruled on by the judges, saying that they do not have to sell off Google Chrome, and that entire lawsuit has now been, is taken care of. So Google, we saw a huge pop after hours. Stacks AI does not always move that quickly, but it's always awesome to see it. It's that hint into what's going on behind behind closed doors. There's always some people that are in the know. Stacks is always sniffing around, trying to find out, putting that ear to the door to see whether or not there is something that we could profit off of just as well. Another quick thing too is we saw SLV come in today. So this is for 2027, $45 strike. If the inflation hedge is really true, you really need to make sure that in SLV, I do expect this to be profitable down the line. I will point out though, SLV is one of those ones that moves fairly slowly. So just be aware that, they purchased a lot of time on that for a reason. This might take take 6 months before we see it fully, nicely profitable in that situation. Somebody mentioned, let's double check CRM. Yeah, we just saw some calls come in. $5.6 million in calls just came in for CRM. $10 per contract, so kind of pricey there. But maybe they know something that we don't. 270 strike for October. So not the most aggressive you could get it, but again, that $5 million says quite a bit right there. And compared to this one, again, aiming for 270 in that point. Is Delta Airlines doing something? I didn't see that. No,
they've been getting lit up all day, like how American Airlines was last week. There was big money calls coming in all session for them today. I think someone in the Discord said they think with American Airlines and now Delta Airlines, I think aviation has news coming down the pipeline.
Well, the first thing I saw earlier today was that oil prices have dropped, which usually are going to affect aviation just because, they use so much in order to power their planes. So that was the first thing that came to mind. But yeah, I feel something bigger is brewing behind closed doors right now. And whether it is, we already saw it with Spirit Airlines. Spirit is going bankrupt again. They did announce that, and that created a pop in most airlines for a little bit. What was interesting though today is we saw Boeing drop a little bit, and actually pretty not the biggest drop, but we saw a drop from Boeing earlier today. So we'll have to see what happens with that. Yeah, check out Dark Silver. Went from a number 3 top fan to number 1 top fan. I like it. Just commenting in our chat. Let us know what you guys are here with. If you're here with Stacks and ICC, if you're here with TraderLink, if you're here with one of the other channels and the other Discords that we're also a part of, let me know. It's always good to see where you guys are coming from here. We got close coming up in a minute. We will jump straight into and see what I'll pull up our charts, see what happens after close, and then we can also discuss a little bit about some of the upcoming earnings for the week. So again, we're a little bit more bearish on Salesforce, but again, there could be something that we see it push up toward to at least 276. I think is kind of this resistance point, 275, 276. We will see. All right, we just saw market close, so let's see how that reacts. On this one, I'm gonna put up. I want to put up American Eagle. First move for American Eagle, we saw a little jump up already. See how that reacts and how that goes. Always make these candles look a little bit bigger. It's still early, so very unlikely that we saw any news come in already. This is where I usually pull up Twitter, take a look over at Twitter and see what's going on over there. If you guys enjoy these earnings reviews that we do, these earning live streams, go ahead, hit that like button for us. We're trying to get YouTube to push us out to more people. Help us out there. It's the, little request from you guys, from us. We do this for likes at this point. Trying to aura farm. Trying to learn how to speak like my middle school basketball kids. Oh, Salesforce seeing a big drop right now. Did they report already? Okay. Q3 revenue 10.24 to 10.29. Oh, so they had a beat on revenue. EPS 196. Ooh, they missed earnings. They missed their EP. Oh, hold on. 291. No, they beat. Looks like they had a beat. I'll double check in a sec. But they're headed down right now. So aside from what that big money just did before close, that big money's gonna be hurting at open tomorrow if this holds. There could be something in their earnings call. Maybe they have insights into that. Something in earnings that could push this back up higher. We've seen that happen before where, you know, they might have some new partnership or some additional news that will help move the stock price back up. American Eagle, still no report just yet. Let me pull up C3AI. They have not reported just yet, but they are up about 0.72% after hours. So we'll see what happens with these. Gotta be a little patient. Yeah. Salesforce down. Salesforce, I mean, it's down 4% right now. While we're waiting for the rest of these earnings to come out, let me know, is there anything in particular you guys want me to look over? More than happy to do that during today's live stream. Like I was saying, we are at this point, we're doing most of our live streams are going to be done in our Discord for our Discord community. Max and I have agreed we're just going to keep doing our YouTube live streams every Wednesday, so expect that you guys will see us on Wednesdays before market close, usually about 30 minutes before market close. So stacks don't miss. What are you talking about? What did you get into for stacks that made you some money? I also do have our Stacks AI. I did finish my back testing this last weekend on Labor Day. Actually, I sat down and I went through all 400 plus prints for you guys. I've got some interesting stats for you too as well with it. I had the suggestion from some of our watchers and listeners to take all of our misses in Stacks AI and just consider them to be full losses. Ooh, we saw a pump. We saw, is that it with American Eagle? You just saw it shoot up. Sorry, got sidetracked by that. Saw a giant candle. But Stacks. So Stacks AI, we did a really interesting statistic with it. So we took all of the misses that we've had. So basically, if it hasn't made over 15% return on Stacks AI, I'm considering it to be a negative 99.99% loss. All right. So of our 400 plus prints, we have about 60 something that are considered misses. Stacks has about an 84% hit rate when you consider it in terms of anything over 15%. If you consider anything over 0%, it's like a 93% hit rate. But again, we know a lot of you guys are in these positions aiming for those higher numbers. So anything over 15% is a win. Anything under 15% is considered a full and complete loss. From there, if you take a look at our numbers, your average returns in Stacks AI are still going to be over 200%. I think it's like 220%. So even if you consider a full loss on all Stacks AI prints that are considered a miss under 15% return, you're still going to be more than double, technically triple your account. Now another consideration is, all right, let's just say we already understand with a lot of these options plays, we're not necessarily going to be timing the top. We're not going to be getting the full amount that that's being aimed for. So, we got AEO moving up, American Eagle moving up. They beat EPS, they beat revenue. Revenue is basically in line, but they beat both. What was I saying? So with Stacks AI, let's just say you don't time the top. Let's just assume you got out 50%, of the high. So you're getting out halfway to the high point. Even with that, you're still going to be looking at about 114% returns across those prints. So I'll continue to see what kind of statistics I can find and share with you guys as I continue to look at the numbers. But it's just one of those things where, again, Stacks AI, we've already shown how powerful of a tool it is. We, just for example, that Google print that came out yesterday already hit. If you guys aren't in on Stacks AI, again, we do have a discount code down below. You can use Closing Bell 20 on Stacks AI membership or Stacks our app, and as a result, go in there, have a conversation with us, take a look at all the back testing that we do. It's fully transparent for you guys to see. So and let me know, what would you like to see from it? What would you like us to do with our numbers, and that way you can see some more statistics. If Stacks could tell me when the top is, that's the holy grail, dude. If we're gonna see what numbers and what we can run and what kind of data we can find with it. If our Stacks AI is able to tell us down the line one day, that would be awesome. But again, I'm still trying to figure out ways where I can automate the back testing so that I can eliminate the human error side of things, if anything. So, American Eagle moving up 15% after hours. Hope some of you guys took that earnings gamble I told you guys about. Yeah, somebody took the AEO contract I shouted out in our Discord, so we'll see how those turn out. It's moving up nicely. 18%, guys. Should have just taken some on our 1K challenge. Let me see real quick. Yeah, those were 30 cents each. Those 30 cents each tomorrow will be opened up at about $1, so should be about a almost 300% return off of it right now. Obviously, this has got to hold. It's got to stay around this range. Salesforce is down. Our initial prediction with Salesforce being bearish was correct. I mean, I would say that big money is the one thing that put a question mark on it right before close, because again, those right before close give you a little bit of a consideration. They might have gotten information right before. And plus, CRM still has to have their earnings call. After their earnings call, we'll see what the true move really is, because we've seen a lot of these earnings this quarter. See some big moves afterwards the next day. Oh, C3 AI is moving up now. It's only up 3%, 4%. Kind of just playing around right there. Keep in mind, this yellow box up here is the gap above, so you're going to see some resistance there, but if it can break into it, you can see it head up. Yeah, the 5 mil for CRM right before market close in a single play, it definitely is no joke. So
I mean, Mark Benioff, that man knows how to get people to believe in him, so I wouldn't be shocked.
Oh, whoa. C3 AI just dropped like a rock. That little pop up and then swing straight down toward, now it's down 10%. You see how quickly that moves and how quickly that changes. American Eagle now up about 23%. Ralph, I'm glad you decided to take on some of that. Yeah, I mean, trust in Sydney Sweeney. If she can sell her bathwater as a soap, I mean, the generation that we live in, guys. CRM's down about 3.5%. That's kind of minor compared to the rest. These other two are moving big. So C3 AI down about 13%. American Eagle's up about 21%. Let's look at Figma. I know Figma, yeah, I kind of could have, I forgot to go over this. Figma's down about 12%. And I want to point out too, guys, look, remember all that hype about Figma? Look at this chart. Since they went public, pump and dump. Probably going to head back toward, it was supposed to be offered at like 30 bucks a share. And basically the institutions played around, offered it to people at much higher, took the big profit in between, pumped it up to what, 150 almost. And then now it's dropped down to about 60 bucks. So again, markets and the way they play the markets, they've been doing this for a very long time. So C3 AI now down 14%. Testing the lows right here. One of my resistances I've drawn. Yeah, Dark Silver. I mean, Salesforce might have reported positive earnings, but that's not always how the market's going to react. You know, that's just how it is. Part of it's priced in, part of it's forward guidance, part of it's the algorithms and what they're going to try to do. Like, it could still recover in due time, but that's where if you're playing options that you have that risk, because it doesn't necessarily have to, it can hit that price in time, but it doesn't have to happen right after the earnings. American Eagle up strong. Yeah, those 25-cent contracts will be at about $1.25 tomorrow at open. You know, guys, one of the big things that Max and I really want to do for ICC stacks, and obviously we acquired TraderLink as well, so you know you guys are a part of it too. You know, we're trying to make sure that we create a community. You know, making sure you guys understand we're here to help. We're here to bounce ideas off of each other. I wish I could say we're right every single time, but I mean, I will say we're more right than we are wrong in many cases by using the tools that we have, stacks. You know, our charting, our discussions, our analysis. A lot of these are based upon probabilities. Okay, unless you have insider information, it's all based upon what your probabilities of up or down happen to be, and with the data that you have in front of you. And we both also believe that the more data that you have, or the more accurate data that you have, the better decisions you can make when it comes down to it. So yeah, American Eagle up 25% after earnings. Pretty nuts, guys. And again, like I know I shouted this out in our Discord before this. I know when I'm streaming, I find it that like I want to share certain things, but I get sidetracked with switching screens and stuff like that. And so I'm glad I got that shouted out to the Discord, because I know not everybody's necessarily watching our stream because they might be at work or something like that. But C3 AI down 16%. Max, you were on point with this one, the bearish side of the AI, and my little downward yellow arrow is basically on point at this. CRM. No, it's on a 2-hour chart. This is going to come down to what they have to say during their earnings call. If they have something that can pop it, we could definitely. I mean, what was it? Oracle last week or the week before, we saw a drop and then it recovered, or a recovery and then a drop. Like, we've seen that happen beforehand. So, hoping for American Eagle, hoping this holds, hoping this goes into tomorrow with full profits for you guys. But again, we don't know until open. That's the hard part about this. Oh, there's GitLab that also. All right, GTLB. GitLab is down 8% after reporting. C3 AI is starting to recover just a little bit, but that might just be resistance. This could stay down probably around 15%. Walmart monthly, weekly chart looks good for a drop near ER. Thoughts on puts? So the thesis behind Walmart right now, and they've already announced a little bit about this too. Yeah, they had a big drop from earnings. That was kind of expected due to tariff pressures and rising costs. Then they've discussed how that's going to be passed on toward the consumer anyway. Thing I will say though is this upward channel since 2024, beginning of 2024, you've just been in this upward channel. So I wouldn't necessarily say take puts until you see a break below it and it holding down below there. I will say I would be the bearish thesis has legs to it. There's weight to it. But right now we also have an earnings gap that formed, and we could still see ourselves break back into there before we see a move in the other direction. There's a lot going on with the economy right now where there's more uncertainty starting to creep back in. We are near greed levels and in the greed phase of things, but we are starting to see that fear starting to creep in. So, I mean, C4, the one thing I would definitely say is take a look at what Stacks has to say down the line. Go ahead and search in there, see what people are doing with Walmart, see what they're buying. Overall, this still actually shows that there's a little bit of bullish sentiment. This put that came in for November, 92.5 strike, about 500K spent on that. That's not a terrible position, but I would like to see more of that sentiment come in before you decide to jump into it. So give it a little bit of time maybe. Also, if you want, take a look. So Flow Scanner shows, yeah, there's a little bit of bearishness coming in for Walmart, at least today. Politicians, a few have been selling, but Lisa McLean just bought. Insider trades, see what the big Walton Family Holdings Trust just sold a bunch. 132 mil, 73 mil. That might be a signal here. They sold at the end of last month, so that could be a night that keep an eye on it. See if there's anything else. I mean, the president CEO just sold $2 million of shares. But yeah, the Walton Family Holdings Trust right there. Whew. What was that right there? 35, 100 mil. There's 300 right there. They just sold about $500 million of shares.
Jesus.
Nuts.
What's
right?
the idea for SoFi 18? Oh, well, it's far enough out where it has time, and I don't think this person wants to lose $482,000. I don't think that's in their interest. So I thought it was an interesting position to take. It's cheap enough, it's expensive enough to give you a quality return. Like a 200% on this, you're looking at almost $300 a contract, 365. So I don't know. I like playing SoFi long term. I've had success with it in the past. And typically, when you see something that's 6 months out, that gives you enough time to scale in and out of it a couple times too. So that's another reason is this is something that we could take for 40, 50%, 3, 4 times before it makes a big move. And that allows you to build more equity into that position as well, especially if you're just going to kind of stick with that thesis. So we're just going to see how these play out. Last ones we took, I think, did 125% at their peak, and they were due for 11.21. I've been out of those since then, but if you would have stayed in them, they were $21 calls. SoFi's at, I think, 23 bucks, 24 bucks right now a share. So you'd be $3 in the money and essentially delta hedging your way into November at this point. So I would expect something similar to kind of happen with SoFi here, especially with Klarna and some other companies IPOing here soon, which is going to show really the ugliness of digital banking, to be honest. And SoFi, unfortunately, does fall into that digital banking space to a degree. So I could see some bearishness come into I think that would be like their Q3 of 2026 at that point. So it's a long-term play. Bought a couple. I'm just gonna sit on them, see what happens. I'll let you guys know if I like bail on it or anything like that.
Chart looks kind of interesting right now. There's no direct selling climax right now, but definitely could see it come back down past this 23.71. I think it'd come back down to like 23.41 and maybe even 22.70. But again, time will tell. They again with a lot of the positions that we like to get you guys into, I still believe if you get and if you're constantly buying weeklies or 0 days to expiration, you're basically gambling. But when you combine stacks with your chart analysis, with your technical analysis, do a little bit of diving into the data and into the numbers of the company itself, look for those longer term positions. Yes, your returns aren't going to be as lofty as those straight up earnings gambles and straight up, weeklies, but buying that time equates to a little bit more safety. And that's what we found is, you can still hit 200, 300% bangers on a lot of these, but you may have to wait it out a little bit more. So that's kind of where the psychology of it is. And the understanding too is sometimes you do have to be patient with it. And that's the thing with that SoFi. I think it's a solid position to consider that we could see it come back down. It is in this it's broken out of this reaccumulation chart that I'm showing you guys here, but at the end of the day, I think it could still come back to retest. So I did Unity. I've been talking about this in our Discord. There's two possibilities for it. We could see it break up right away, or we could maybe potentially see it come back and retest the 35 and even as low as that 32 to 33 range. It's hard to tell right now. We keep seeing little pops here and there, but it definitely could come back down toward that. I'd say 20 or 30, 32 to 34 is probably where it would come back down to. But long term, I would definitely say we should be able to see above 50 for this name. Maybe in like 4 to 6 months is kind of my target at this point. It's been in this accumulation phase. I've had this charted out for quite some time. I had this charted out since we were down near the LPS in the spring. So I've already made some money off of this one. I'm just, kind of waiting around patiently with it. The January 67 calls are the ones I'm in. I'm already up about 50 something percent. It's kind of fluctuated between 50 to 80% back and forth. But again, we'll see how that turns. If it drops back down lower, I'll probably consider buying some more of those. Keep an eye out for what's going on in stacks as well. So in stacks, we'll see some buying the $65 calls. Is it 65 or 67? One of those. I think it's 65, sorry. I think that's the highest one that's offered. Well, that's a pretty extensive, like 37,000 open interest, 64% expected move. This guy only spent 92K on it, but again, they're adding to that position. The position's continuing to be added to. So it's only 500 in terms of the volume for today, so they're the only ones, and they're probably adding to that position.
Oh, wow.
We got two big names coming up tomorrow. We will do our live stream in our own Discord tomorrow. We got Broadcom AVGO coming in. I would keep an eye out to see what's exact, because the big money here we see are just sells of puts and sells of calls. We do have some puts being bought yesterday for 175K for Friday, and we also have some puts also being sold. So that's basically saying that that's a small range right there, aiming for the downside. We also got some calls purchased for the 19th, 325. I'd say overall as a company bullish, but again, earnings can really go either way on something like this. Chart itself is in this it's very high up. That's how I'd look at it. It's very high up. It has a little bit of a head and shoulders pattern to it, but it's not breaking down to the downside at this point. So technically it's not, if it comes back down toward 82, you could see, right, could see it break down a much further. But at this point, if we're able to break above 304, you probably see 311 and then retest that 317 toward the top end. So strong company. I don't love this PE ratio, but if Nvidia and a lot of these other tech companies are any indicator, we've kind of thrown the PE ratio out at this point, because I mean, look at Palantir. Palantir is at a PE ratio of 522 right now. I think we saw 600 at one point. So I mean, when it was up back over here at $190, that was like a 600 PE ratio. So PE ratio, if they're in a growth mode, which a lot of these tech stocks, technically are still in growth mode, you kind of throw that PE ratio out. So the other one, Lululemon, is it in a bear flag, or are we starting to see a recovery? I've seen a couple people, and I know as well there are some big investors that have purchased into Lululemon. But is this a bear flag where we see it come back down a little bit further, or do we start to see a recovery of it? What I will point out is I don't think we've really seen a selling climax. I think we could still see Lululemon head down further. I had this charted before last earnings, and I took the downside to this. I turned like $150 to like 2K off of this, off the last point of supply. So we have the Wyckoff distribution, we had our buying climax, selling secondary test, and up thrust after distribution, and we've seen the last point of supply and signs of weakness at this point. There still is we have broken out of it. The thing that we're looking for are some of these larger volume spikes to show that this has capitulated and ended up in a range. So we haven't seen it build a range just yet. So there is a possibility if we see some form of earnings where they don't report, as expected, they miss on something, or their forward guidance talks about how, right now consumers are struggling. People are spending more money at the dollar stores instead, and people are holding off on bigger expenditures, especially with a lot of questions about how our economy is going to survive at this point. A lot of money's flowing elsewhere, so we might see Lululemon come back down toward, I want to say 164 is the range I'm looking at right here. Come back down toward this COVID low 130 even. But this is a pretty significant distribution pattern. If I were to give it a comparison, you can say look at Spotify back in, see this pattern right here, Spotify back over here, back in 2020 down to about 2022, we see it break down and then accumulate, and you'll see the volume spikes further down here that actually show that there was accumulation starting to happen. In Lululemon, we don't see that just yet. So the volume has not started to come in for this name. So we don't see the big spike that we see was it pushing it out of the range. So I don't know. I think they could still miss. They could still come back up toward about 220, but I would expect there to be selling pressure pushing it further back down, or at least that's what my charts are saying right now. If I pull up our Stacks software and look for what's being bought, most recently we saw some puts for about 800K for March. So expecting it to go down toward 155. They're kind of pricey though. It's a G per contract right there. So is that considered quality? Is that considered, right? Sometimes you buy some more expensive contracts, willing to spend money on the time, willing to spend money either in the money or aiming for something. But I think this is where I would say I have a little bit more confidence in. Same with this big money print here too. For 919, I think this one's, no, they're probably lost out quite a bit if they didn't get out of this one already. 195. It's very close to being in the money. So maybe they do have some insights here. They're holding it through, potentially are holding it through earnings to see. Was there anything else coming up?
Not really.
Oh, I see DocuSign. Oh, how do I spell it? Ah, that's not how you spell it. D-O-C, okay. Ah, there's nothing on Stacks to show with that one right now. So. Chart, I would definitely lean more bullish on this. I think we could see it come back up toward 81. I wouldn't get into it simply because I have no data on Stacks saying anything in particular. But if you guys have seen, I've shown you guys this over. Look how similar these charts look, guys. Psychology of a market cycle. So we're starting to see a little bit of a disbelief rally. This could start coming back up again in time, but nothing in terms of the big money tells me that they're ready to do that just yet. So we had a little bit of an accumulation phase where we popped out of it so far. There's a lot of stocks that look like this right now. We had a low range, we popped out of it, and we're just chopping around the top side of it. I know for some of you guys this might be a pain point, but Alibaba's doing the same thing right now. Alibaba's on this top side of the range. The blue box is the lower range. We got it. We are starting to see this sign of strength of us popping up higher. So we also saw Stacks AI print come in for Alibaba. So I think we could see above 147 probably by, I want to say end of the year. We very likely could start to see this move up. So it could come down a little bit, come back up toward this, retest. That's what we want to see right now with Alibaba. All right, let's just jump back into Salesforce. How did Salesforce turn out today? Salesforce is down 3.76% overall. It's kind of just consolidating. That's actually not bad. I'll tell you that for technically it was an earnings beat. Revenue basically came in line. Earnings was a 4% beat. Down 3.5%, I think is nothing. I think this in time could still head back up. We'll see how it reacts with their earnings call and what happens tomorrow at open. C3 AI down 10%. Hit the bottom down over here at about 1390 and it's come back up just a little bit. Sydney Sweeney and Travis Kelsey on AEO up 23.5%. So those of you guys in the Discord, you guys can comment back on this channel as well. Come back onto our YouTube channel and comment for me. Let me know how that turns out for you tomorrow. I'd love to know. Basically called this out on stream for you guys. So hope to see you guys profit nicely from it. I know it was a small earnings gamble, but again, I think it's the percentages that matter the most. I think with a $25 bet for you to come out of it with over $100 profit, I think that's what we're aiming for at this point with this. Is 23% move on the stock itself for earnings. Figma down 11%. That one looks kind of messed up.
Yeah, good old pump and dump.
Yep. And then GitLab, same idea. Saw a little pop, but came down about 11% as well. So keep in mind, guys, especially, so one thing I want to remind you before we leave, Figma, go look back on the news about it. Go look back on all the hype and all the fervor. Everybody's talking about it. Oh my God, I didn't get into Figma. I tried to buy stock on Robinhood and couldn't buy it at the IPO prices. They only gave me one share. Then your only chance to get into it was at those higher prices. And at this point, basically, you're shit out of luck. With whatever you purchased at during the IPO, you are down at this point. Because it opened up around like 80 to 90. And then there are a lot of people that are purchasing at the $100 something, 100 something plus. Then what happened? You kept hearing people talk about, oh, this is going to be a $200 stock. This is going to go up to $300, blah, blah, blah. And I've always used it as, use the grandma indicator. Did grandma and the people around the dinner table that usually don't talk about stocks, did they get wind of this? Did they start hearing about this? If so, those are signals that you should probably be getting out. Those are signs to sell. Because then again, we dropped down past where, IPO technically is at $30 down here, but realistically, all of the public, if I drew a rectangle, all the public's stuck up here, guys. So more than likely, if you're in this, you're down around 50%. If you got lucky and got in a little bit later, you're still down like 30% or so. Okay? So public sentiment, one thing I've learned with chemo especially is to ignore the news as much as you can. Obviously the news will move stocks, but understand most of the time it's mostly noise. Okay? So at what matters at the end of the day is that profit loss margin. Okay, so if you're in the green or if you're in the red, that's what matters. It doesn't matter what the news is saying at the end of the day. A lot of times the news will put you on the wrong side of things. So be careful with that, especially when they're shouting it from the rooftops, like GameStop and AMC, or the next new meme coin, meme stock, whatever. And yeah, Ralph, if you're in American Eagle, I would definitely say unless you had like multiple positions, you might leave a runner or two. There is a possibility we could see it continue a little bit. But with the campaign that they had being up already, 20 to 30%, now with it up another 25%, very likely try to get out at open, because there's more than likely we will start to see it sell off as soon as we hit the open. Maybe give it 5 minutes for your bid-ask spread to even out a little bit. But definitely do your best to try to get out. You should see some decent profits as long as AEO holds those upper ranges. Feeling pretty good about myself calling that one out. I wish I was paying attention and got in myself, but that's what happens with these live streams. I'm more focused on talking to you guys and can't really do my trading on the side on my own, but I'm glad that some of you guys were able to get into it. Alright, you guys, hit that thumbs up like button for me. I think last we got was around like 15 likes total. I want to see if we can try to break these. Or I'm going to start giving you guys previous records we have and see if we can get you guys to help us break those numbers. But let your friends know about us. If you're in our Stacks software or in our Discord, have a conversation. We'll see you guys in there. We'll be back live again tomorrow in the Discord. What I've also been trying to do for you guys on YouTube though is I will try to record it. The interface with Discord's kind of tough to use because they black out one of the screens whenever I click away, so it's not going to be the most efficient. But I'll do my best to try to post additional things for you guys on YouTube, usually after the fact. I'm not going to stream them live because I don't think my bandwidth my internet bandwidth can handle that type of thing, streaming on 2 platforms at once. But we will see you guys. Yep, great call on CRM. I mean, again, Max and I, if you listen to what we have to say, I would say what 80 to 90% of the time we're giving you guys the right direction, or we're at least giving you both the bull and the bear case right before what's coming out, and having a solid discussion as to what's going on. So, you know, that's what we're here for, trying to provide you guys some value and also getting you guys to believe a little bit more in what's going on with stacks, because that is one of the secrets in our toolbox that helps us make this analysis. Good luck, Morris. Hope you hit your marks. Yeah, it was a pricey position to get in, but I'm glad you're able to get into it. Make sure you post that in our profits channel tomorrow, so we can just, so we can see it. We can share it with everybody on Instagram. All right, you got any last comments, Max?
No, I mean, it's a pretty flat week this week in terms of market activity. It's just more, apparently there's more, for the first time since April of 2021, there are more job seekers than there are job openings.
Yeah, we're definitely entering that stagflation phase of our markets and of our economy at this point. I think there's still a lot of people in denial about it, but it's being felt. And I don't think the news necessarily is going to really report on it till it's over, but it is what it is.
If we cut rates going into stagflation, if you don't own a home right now, you never will. It's gonna get ugly.
Yeah.
If we actually do cut rates in September, prepare for a big correction.
Yeah.
Oh wow, Soba took the American Eagle play, and he said it's about to be 20K. Nice 20K position, right?
I love it.
Gainer right there.
I love it. All right, guys. Enjoy the rest of your day. We'll be back at it in our Discord tomorrow. If you're not on Stacks just yet, go ahead, give it a try. We got a Closing Bell 20 code for you guys down in the description box below. You also have Max's Substack, his YouTube, and our Stacks Beehive. Go ahead and sign up for those. Those are just some free resources for you guys. That way, if you guys want to stay in touch with us, or if you guys want to get some of the information, we're always constantly trying to share what we can in different areas and different social media. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Hit that like button. Make sure you hit subscribe and the notification bell. That way when we do go live, there are going to be times where we go live more than just Wednesdays. So make sure that you guys hit that so that when we do go online, you guys can join us and we can have a conversation. All right. Have a great rest of your guys' day. We will see you guys in the next one.